So I am here mostly for the formalities, like asking a few questions that allow H.A.U.S to explain themselves a little bit better and a bit more. And you, I'm gonna try to keep it relatively short, and then you can ask other questions, the smart questions, yeah? So let me just start with the first simple question. And I am going to ask, I think I'm going to ask you first, Eva-Maria. Like, what do you mean with the concept I have to look it up again, youAI I301?
What we mean, I have to also, oh, it's so sweet.
Yeah.
Also a small table and a small microphone. Very sweet. Yeah, what is, I cannot say it. No, what is what is for me? Yeah. youAI was our last stage piece that we have developed in the last year, I would say, and we premiered in Brut Nordwest in March. And you saw 2 scenes out of it, and then the improvisation was also part of it. And now we are going on like we always do in this transdisciplinary research group. We immediately go on. This is always just one step that we are currently working on, and so we call it, now we give it numbers. Now it's youAI I301 because it's 01, it's the number 1 after the big show, so it's the next cycle, and now it's 01, and now we go on. I don't know how many it will be, we will see. It is always like a focus on our work where we are right now. So it's one month after this big thing, and now we are here. So we mixed it up a little bit, and we are interested already in other things like the AI that we are developing right now, and we mixed it also a little bit more in. So it's always state of the art what we are showing. So this is what this was.
And let's just, sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you. Let's just stay for one small question with you, because I read the description, and of course I talked a lot with all of you. And what I liked is the question, who is training who? And I think that's really a question for you.
Yeah, this is really a nice question. I really love it to train the robot via the system, via Darja, and at the same time it's training me. So it's always this vice versa that we are doing, and I hope you could also see it or experience it a little bit. So when is the robot leading, when I am leading, when we are mixing up totally and we are in kind of a flow. So this is always like a thing that is interesting in my mind as a dancer, this following and leading thing in improvisation, and it's super special with this robot or with this whole system, yeah, to work with that and find somehow this training system here, yeah. But I'm also really highly trained, yeah, after 5 years or more working with this system and this robot. I'm highly trained in a movement that I've never experienced or developed before, because I've never worked with a robot that intensely before. So I would say I'm highly trained already in moving with a robot. Yeah, so that's this training thing.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then I would actually like to continue with Darja, yeah, because you were talking about these technical details. And you as a roboticist, like somebody who has worked now with robots for 5 years, Oliver was before talking about this way how performance can lead the way also in robotics itself, like help to find out new things. Could you explain a bit more about that, what this means for you?
You mean like the performance itself, what brings to robotics?
Or this entire house experience?
I mean, for me personally, it brings a lot of freedom, because, I mean, when you do research in human-robot interaction, sometimes you have to constrain yourself in order to come to a certain conclusion or to publish something. But here you have a freedom to do whatever you want. And actually, H.A.U.S has been a huge influence on how I led my PhD. So it gave me kind of ways to think about how robots can move outside of the box without thinking what the movement is supposed to mean. So it's really going back to just moving without putting meaning on it. Yeah, that's all I can say.
But that's great. Good, then let's continue with you, Oliver. Like, Darja was just saying out of the box, and I assume that you, as originally somebody from architecture, for you probably robots also mean something in that context. You told a bit about that before already, but I would like you to, I'm sure you have more to say about that.
Yeah, I'm an architect, and I'm an architecture theorist. I need to pull this out because my architecture thinking has nothing to do with the architecture practice. So I'm very much interested in aspects of how we live together. This was like the sequence when I was talking before. It's about trying to get a grip, not simply trying to understand, because actually there is nothing to understand. We need to construct and we need to produce situations. Hence, this is also a typical architecture gesture, not thinking backwards, not working with the here and now, but with the future. So this is strictly in German we say Entwurf, and in Entwurf you have this throwing, so there is this throwing of something, so you open something up in order to move it towards the future, and it's a forceful motion. And probably nobody likes it, but despite that you do it. And the situation here is everybody knows that the technological development will lead to a situation where we have spaces to live in that are highly populated, but not only populated in the sense like this robot is here, but to bring the sentence to an end, populated with technology. We're going to have technology that is explicit and bodily, like a robot, like this humanoid robot here, and of course enormous amounts of technology that is not explicit, that is not bodily, but that is just there. Like each of you most likely has a smartphone in his or her pocket, and this smartphone has access not only to tons of internet connection, but also to clouds. So you are constantly in a technological environment that you love to use, and that triggers you, that trains you in a very, very direct sense, because you want to use this environment, and you want to be good at using this environment, but not with everything. Only with the things that you are interested in. And this might be Netflix, but it could also be online hacking. So the complexity and the focus can be very, very different in these constraints and in these contexts. And what we are going for with these rather abstract experiments is we pre-construct, predefine this probably future situation. What we do for sure is we offer something. We offer abstract content that is there then to be taken up and to be unfolded in terms of making it concrete, pragmatic, graspable, livable. So we are the ones who produce this potential. It could be something like this or anything at all.
You'll get more questions. Then I'm gonna ask the last question, because this making concrete, I also heard, especially in the text that you read, quite some. I heard technology critique into it, and I'm very interested in this technology critique in general, but also in the way you played with that, with your intonation and things like that. Elaborate on that. Anything you like?
Well, it was very interesting for us to see what we're going to do with all the texts that we had, because they were very scientific, and obviously we didn't want to present them as though they were like a TED Talk, right? Because it was supposed to be a performance piece. So we were interested in how I could play with like the AI voices. I feel like they're very present anyway. Like on TikTok, we have all these narrators, right? Like a female voice and a male voice, and I don't know, I was interested in playing with that. And something that I also found really important in our performance piece was to question the idea of AIs or robots, like of AIs being objective in any way. And I think that's one of the most important points, to see that there's a bias, and that, well, obviously they're trained, so it matters who trains them and for what purpose and everything. So for me, that was one of the core messages of our performance. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Linda. Good, then I think it's time to go to the questions from the public. Anybody who has already an idea, a question, something they want to test with the house group, please raise your hands. Great. Yeah, I will go there. I'm going to be your assistant.
Hello, hi, thanks for the performance and introduction to the topic. I find it very interesting, thanks a lot. Maybe I missed some sentences, but may I ask, what is the purpose, functionality of the robot that you were performing today?
There we go.
I can start. I mean, do you mean like what the robot is designed for, or what? Okay, so this robot is a humanoid robot, and it was designed as a companion. So they call it like a robot with emotions, because it also can express somehow emotions and read emotions in people, but it doesn't come with. So the idea was actually very similar to like phones, because you're supposed to like implement apps, and then anyone can download them and they can be transferred to any Pepper model. So basically, that was the main idea. But I think
which didn't work.
Which, yeah, now it's all, I think mostly researchers use it, and it's very much used into like libraries or hotels as a greeting and as a helper. That's why it has the tablet. So sometimes people would, like, it will give you options, and then you can click and it can tell you, okay, go there or whatever.
Yeah, the interesting thing with this robot model is it is the very first humanoid robot that is produced en masse. So the very first industrial product. All the other robots out there that you see in these fancy videos and whatever, they are prototypes. There might exist 3 of them or something around, or probably 10, but not more. And they are not produced in order to serve a specific market. The interesting thing with this machine is, besides that it's the very first, one tried in order to produce a market for this kind of machine, and this partly failed. So the section that Darja was just describing, so that a community would of developers would start to emerge, and they would do these apps, and the discourse would like develop, and a market would follow after. Simply, it didn't happen. And so there had a lot been learned, how a market does not unfold, and we will see this in the subsequent, like models or the funny thing with this also, there is no follow-up model so far. So the robot is now 7 years old, and you know what that means in terms of digital products. 7 years without a follow-up, come on. Yeah, this is dead. Actually, if this would be a phone or a printer, nobody would ever anymore talk about it. Totally, obviously, a misled development. But here, everything is totally different, because robotics for everybody and humanoid robotics for everybody is just far from anything that we would have had in whatever kind of period of the human culture. So this is very, very, very new in many respects. And the development of this kind of robots is really completely open. But the core functionality, let's come back to that, and Darja said that at the very beginning, this is the real important thing, companion. Yeah? companion. I repeat it. What does that entail? So if I have a human companion, I have all kinds of expectations and experience what it means and entails to have or be a companion. Now, compared to a human person, a machine like this, of course, can only serve aspects of what companionship is. But this makes it utterly interesting in terms of life worlds and how we will live in the future with, as I said before, with embodied or objectified technology, or technology that is simply infrastructure, invisible, but still accessible and training or controlling us at every split second.
Thank you. I think, okay, we continue. I think I saw somebody else with a question. I'll just give it.
Thank you very much for the performance and the lecture performance, you can say. Well, very interesting. I have a question to Eva, the dancer. Also with regards to this robot, I was wondering, have you danced with other robots? And do you have a most favorite robot you like to dance with?
Thank you. So, no, no. So as Oliver already said, so the humanoids, I'm very fascinated for sure by humanoids, but they are very, exclusive, I would say, to really work with them. And this is such a nice thing that I could always meet Oliver and the robot and work with this robot and really elaborate things over years. And this is really the thing what I could do with it. I bought a sleeping robot. This is the other one I have. It's a little bean which helps us to sleep, but it's really, I wanted to experiment because it was somehow not so expensive, and I was interested what it can do, but you can never compare it to a companion somehow. So no, but we are thinking about in-house having different kinds of robots, or what are possibilities for us to extend that, for sure. But yeah, most experienced is this one for me, for sure. Yeah.
Just shortly, we started with a legged humanoid, which is a bit taller than Pepper, 140 like this, called Romeo. I'm sorry for that. I'm not responsible. I'm only communicating. But to make it even tougher, Romeo. So the working title of this model was Juliet. Sorry for that. So and I can go one step further. They have there is a very tiny robot called Now. Doesn't fit into the scheme. But there are expressions from the side of the developer where you have Pepper, and now it gets really peinlich. Yeah. Okay, so you have this Pepper, and on the side of Pepper is hugged, of course, Romeo. And guess who is on the shoulder of Romeo? Now, of course. So, and this is for me just at least one step or even two steps too far. Comparing it to a human family is just not okay. To keep it plain, again, I could talk more than an hour about this. Very problematic. And this is a kind of development with robots, especially with humanoid robots, that I think one does not need to, in any case, help promoting it, but more. I'm actually on the critic side, and this is a pretty problematic thing.
And Romeo could not walk. He had legs, but had legs, but it could not walk. So it's very expensive thing, and it hangs around on strings now because it cannot walk. So it's hard to perform, I would say, with Romeo. It's easier with Pepper, Juliet, whatever.
This was one of the many research platforms that didn't. One of the many research platforms in robotics, in humanoid robotics, that didn't take off. So as Eva just said, so years had been spent in order to produce algorithms that make Romeo walk. And at the end, it walked like a drunken human. Funny, but you want to get a bit further, and it simply could, stop. The project from the hardware side is stopped totally. And we stopped working with this model way before, because we saw no development direction for us.
And maybe just one sentence, what is also so interesting working with this model, when we are going abroad and perform abroad, we can just rent a pepper somewhere, so we don't have to transport it, because there are so many peppers in all cities. So this is also important for us, that we normally get one somewhere. So when we do a performance anywhere, we always check out where we can find, and there is a technical university somewhere, and we can just check a pepper somewhere. So this is also very nice to tour around like with this model, which makes it much easier to really work, because with these exclusive models, it's it's simply not easy to work. So maybe stop.
We are a bit over time already, but one last question. Great, one last question. There you go. Oops, wow, we're electric.
It seems tiny, but it's fully loaded. First, thank you so much for the performance. I'm happy I experienced it. I was just wondering, because you're a very transdisciplinary team with, I guess, I mean, you were working for some time already together, but I would be interested in how is your process of developing from one iteration to the next one? How do you negotiate, or how do you try this Entwurfsversuche?
It started with a kiss. It starts with concept. Mike. It starts with concept, actually, but this is not true. Transdisciplinary work at first, at second, and at third is communication. Communication, and restless, relentless, never-ending communication, always having at least one ear open, not in the sense simply to hear, but to hear stuff that you cannot understand at the moment you hear it, and probably not the next day, and probably even not the next month, and maybe also not in the next year, but still stick with it. Never stop discussing with the others, never stop listening and translating for yourself, never stop to really make yourself understandable in a very deep and open way, so that you are accessible in terms of all the details that are behind your concepts and things. And this is often really painful, because the longer you are with something, the less you are inclined and interested at the basics of what you had developed, and your whole body of thinking and your tower of ivory is erected upon starts to shake, only because somebody puts a question down there that you just cannot answer, because you never thought about this specific perspective, this certain angle on the thing, and suddenly everything becomes shaky. This is not nice. But if you go with it, things can unfold, and we are bringing ourselves in terms of iterative spirals to all kinds of ideas, and by means of this kind of exchange. And this only works with certain kind of personalities. Only and with an utterly flat hierarchy. Not without hierarchy, but very flat and flexible. Somehow. I don't know. I think it's necessary to add from your sides.
Yeah, just very shortly. It was, for me, it was the beginning when I came to H.A.U.S. It was in 2018. 17 we met, and we worked really and we really talked for 9 months, just talking to understand each other. So really, and then the first performance was there, and we thought, okay, we talked now. So this is really a long process, and it still goes on, yeah, like Oliver said, yeah.
All right. That's it for tonight, but I have one last question, because I get this question always after performance. How much does it cost? 20,000 people, 20,000.
20,000, and if you are a research institution, 14,000. Yeah, you can order tonight.
That's
Good.
not true. That's not true.
We need to discuss that.
It's still 20,000.
Really? Did they
Yeah.
raise it? I bought it cheaper.
Good. Thank you so much. Let's congratulate H.A.U.S again.